All right, everybody, this is Ryan Gibbons, co-founder of Mare Island Brewing Company, out here on the waterfront of our beautiful Coal Shed Brewery, and this is a bonus episode of our podcast, Battleship to Beer, 10 Years of Mare Island Brewing Company. And I've invited a guest out here that has actually been a friend of the company for quite a while, and before we get into any of the questions and get to know this guy, who do we have here? Who are you, young man?
I am Jim Reikowsky, and a 10-year veteran of the Mare Island Brewing Company. Haven't worked here, but I've had my share.
Your money has definitely worked here for us. So, well, Jim, one of the things that's kind of has become a tradition of these podcasts is we got to open a beer to get this started. So
let's do that.
I brought what is always one of your favorite beers, and what do you got here?
That's my favorite, the Hydraulic Sandwich. It's a really good IPA, and this is coming from a guy who's had a lot of IPAs.
That's for sure. You don't have a gut that shows it, but
no, I do.
I know that you
but it's a
enjoy it.
podcast. So.
Well, I actually grabbed one of our workshop series, Shop 26 Hazy IPAs that we just released, and so how about we get this party started?
I had that beer last Sunday. It's very good.
Well, cheers, Jim. Thanks for joining me on this little bonus
Thanks
episode.
for having me.
So, there we go. This can get started now. So, Jim, one of the things that I'll always remember about starting this company is a picture of you standing outside of our to-be-built tap room in front of a poster that I made that said, "Coming soon," and you were standing there and you wanted me to take that picture and introduced yourself. And how far away from our tap room were you?
Well, I worked at the time for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we shared a wall with the Mare Island Brewing Company and the ferry terminal, and one afternoon, I determined and counted it off that your front door was 25 steps from my desk.
I gotta say,
which is a nice place to be.
If you had a Fitbit back there, the amount of times that you made those 25 steps over there, would have gone crazy. But I remember you even took a couple of photos and had a hashtag for that as well. Yeah.
25 steps was my hashtag.
If you look it up online on Instagram, you'll see some pictures of Jim Reikowsky 25 steps away. But even more so, kind of what we want to do here is kind of introduce you a little bit more and have you kind of help tell the story of what has it meant to you that we opened the brewing company in Vallejo?
It's been wonderful. I was asked where I had beer before you guys showed up, and all I could think of was my house. Go to the grocery store and buy beer.
Yeah.
But although occasionally you would make trips to Berkeley or someplace, find a craft brewery, but to not only have one in your town, but 25 steps from your desk was pretty sweet.
And it was nice having the Visitors Bureau next door as well, because one thing we were trying to do is bring people into Vallejo, and what better way to get the people working there excited than make sure that there's beer ready.
That was our job, is to get people into your business, and I think we got one or two in there.
So a little bit of your background. How did you come into Vallejo? You from here? What?
No, I grew up in Oklahoma. The Navy brought me out here in the 70s.
To Mare Island, or
no? I was on a ship that was out of NAS Alameda.
Okay.
USS Kansas City, bless her heart, big old replenishment oiler, big dirty ship, but it was good for me. And except for going back to Oklahoma for college, I've been here ever since. My wife's from California, and when I got my diploma, she said, "Get in the car, we're going back to California."
Nice.
And that was fine. It's a place I'd like to live. So.
Being a transplant myself, I can totally understand that. The weather out here is gorgeous. And speaking of, we're at a beautiful day here on the waterfront, and we just had a nice, huge barge go by. But the one thing I was kind of curious about, what is your connection to Mare Island? Because I know you've kind of had a lot of touches over your time here.
Well, when I came to Vallejo in, 1984, the shipyard was still in business for 12 more years. So it was kind of exciting to sit over on the other side of the Napa River and see the submarines parked over here. But you couldn't come out here because they took those sort of things kind of seriously. So you didn't just wander over here. So it was not a good thing that the shipyard closed, but when it did, it really opened it up for people to come over here and just learn what an amazing history this island has as the first naval installation in the West, where the first battleship was built, where how many submarines, over 500 ships, how many submarines, 16 nuclear submarines. and it was just kind of a thing nobody knew anything about.
You know, one of the things I know about you over the years is you know a lot of the history of Mare Island. Like, how do you know all the history here?
Well, I've learned it, but I've always been a history guy, and I was on the Vallejo Naval and Historical Museum for many years on their board of directors. And then in the beginning, when the Mare Island Historic Park Foundation started back in whatever that was, 98, I was a volunteer there. Went away for a few years, but your partner Kent Fortner got me back out there. So I am a docent, I do tours, and I'm on the board of directors. So, and you just, you know, if you're a tour guide, you can't help but learn a whole bunch about this island.
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. Like, so tell me about the tours. What kind of tours do you give on Mare Island? What do you do?
We do a 2-hour tour. We usually start at St. Peter's Chapel, and then we walk down to the shipyard commander's home, the admiral's mansion, over to Alden Park, and we usually finish down on the waterfront, down by the dry dock one and the sail of the USS Vallejo.
Are these tours that you have to kind of set up, or is it?
We do tours by appointment. So
Okay.
if you go to the Mare Island Historic Foundation website, it's very easy to do. At some point we may start doing cemetery tours, and unfortunately our museum was closed because of earthquake worries, so we have a whole bunch of artifacts which nobody can see right now, but at sometime in the future we'll get some of those back on display.
Yeah, but still, I mean, going around this island, there's still plenty to talk about.
And we talked that the whole island is a museum.
Yeah.
There's tons to see even if you never set foot in a building.
And I couldn't think of a better docent who enjoys talking than Jim Reikowsky here.
I am happy to talk. So.
Yeah, and so one of the things also that was kind of cool when you were at the Visitors Bureau is you also brought or were involved in getting a lot of Hollywood over here, right? Or
I was also the film commissioner for this county for 20 years, and our job was to promote all of Solano County to the entertainment industry, be it feature films, television, God forbid, reality shows or music videos, but even still photography, commercials. Yeah. And Mare Island is a one-of-a-kind place, and
Agree.
You can find cities that maybe look like Vallejo up and down the state, but you can't find this anywhere else.
It's true.
And the last film I worked on was the Bumblebee movie, the Transformer movie.
Yeah, that's right.
And they rewrote the end of the movie once they saw Mare Island, because they just realized they just had too much cool stuff not to use.
Yeah, I think I already mentioned on the regular podcast, my mom was out in town for that, and so we went over and watched the whole filming of that, and it was a cool experience to have. But I tell you what, the amount of CGI that goes into it, it's kind of hard to see it when you're out there, but once they put the film together, I mean, it was just, again, perfect background for
and
that
we had a ton of Mythbusters. They were here all the time.
Yeah.
They built a duct tape bridge across Dry Dock 4, which worked.
Yeah, I remember
and
that
they
episode.
could come out here and they could drop stuff, and nobody would get hurt, so they liked that. And then the last big TV show we had was 13 Reasons Why for Paramount. And they were here 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty big deal at the time.
Yes, they were here a long time, and they spent a lot of money in the county. And the film commission, our mission is pretty much the same as the Convention and Visitors Bureau. You want people to come into your county, you want them to spend money, and frankly, you want them to then go away.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that just is a great example of why Mare Island is so awesome in the Bay Area, and kind of this little gem is that, if you're able to have all of these outside industries come in and actually infiltrate money into the local community, buy beer, if you will, it's a pretty cool concept for sure.
No, it works, and again, like I said, you can't find this other places. We give tours and we talk about what went on out here and what it's like now, and people are just shocked because they just, it was a secret. They just didn't. Mare Island was one of those places you just didn't know about.
Right. I tell you, I'm a little envious of you. Probably the first time I've ever told you that, maybe the last time. But a little envious of you for being here when it was still a shipyard, because I still think it would just been, cool to be here to see, not cool to have to live through that stressful time, of course, but just to see this place in full action and all the ships out here, the submarines, it just seems like it was a really happening time to be out here.
Well, it was, and in the afternoon or in the mornings, traffic would back up all the way to Sonoma Boulevard.
Wow.
And no one complained because they were going to work at Mare Island and they had a good job. So it was certainly quite a shock when the shipyard closed, and I'm not sure Vallejo was ready for that because we had Mare Island. We've always had Mare Island. We always thought we would have Mare Island. So it was a big adaptation for this town to have to change and find new ways to have income.
It's one of the things I say all the time is that Mare Island is the reason why Vallejo was so great, and Mare Island was the reason why Vallejo has gone down, and it also can be the reason why Vallejo can come back. And why not do that through celebrating its history and reminding people why Mare Island is so important to the area.
And you may know this better than I, but I believe there's over 100 companies on this island.
There are.
You know, people still think, oh, Mare Island's an abandoned shipyard. It's a ghost town, and it's far from it. There's a lot going on out here.
Yeah, I was going to say, certainly looking over at the tap room right now, it's not abandoned over here. So
No.
Yeah, it's still got a couple seats for you if you want to come by for sure. But you know, I hate to put you on the spot and ask you, but what is like one of your favorite moments over the 10 years of Mare Island Brewing Company? Because I have to say, in a kind of a little shameful plug, Jim's actually one of our Yardbird Beer Club members and has been since the first release. So he's seen quite a bit of every little color that we've done over the 10 years.
Well, I think the one thing I'll never forget is meeting you and Kent on the very first day. You looked at the empty space in the ferry building. Mm-hmm. We were working there, and you know, we're nosy people. Someone's next door, maybe our neighbors, and we walked over here and asked you two what you were thinking about over here. And I don't know whether it was you or Kent said something about a brewery, and I believe I said, "How can I help?"
Yeah.
And I think I've helped a little over the last 10 years.
You have absolutely helped, and you know, I don't mind telling you my favorite Jim Reikowsky story over the last 10 years is a couple years ago we did the Yardbird party theme was the Olympics.
Oh,
and we asked, every Olympics needs to have their ceremonial torchbearer, and we thought none other best to do so other than Jim Reikowsky. And you know, my favorite part is we had about 300 people at that party, and
lots of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, and you were coming in with the torch, and you know, you really hammed it up and made sure you drank your beer before you went every step of the way. But it really set the tone of being a really fun party that time.
That was a lot of fun. Please never ask me to do that again.
Oh yeah, no, you've done your time to help promote us for sure. I don't know, any predictions about what Mare Island's future has in store?
Slowly but surely is all I can say. I think a lot of us thought when the shipyard closed that just overnight this thing would be developed. And I tell people this all the time, you have to realize how old some of these things are in this building. And when you're bringing up to code, and you've got 120-year-old water pipes and electrical that hasn't been touched since World War II, it's just not easy. But I mean, look at these coal sheds. They're somebody's going to move into these one of these days and make this even better place.
We agree. I mean, everybody asks all the time, like, what if another brewery moves in down here? And we absolutely would love that. You know, there's how many wineries up in Napa, and everybody goes up there to visit them. You know, this could be a really awesome brew tourism kind of area. I mean, there's brewpies out there that will travel for great beer.
Oh yeah, I've known people that plan vacations around tap rooms and beer trails.
Yeah, just kind of curious now since I asked you that, like, you've spent some time in our tap room and certainly a little bit of coin. Again, appreciate that. That's been super helpful. But of all of the time being a customer, who is someone that has worked for us that has had the most impact or that you'll never forget?
Oh, where do you want to start?
Yeah, you can name check some people by all means.
Well, I hope Ingo's listening to this. So we'll ever forget Ingo.
Yeah.
And gosh, you've had some great bartenders. I'm drawing a blank. She worked with Ingo.
Bailey.
Well, Bailey was great. I remember Bailey working real hard one waterfront weekend all by herself.
Yeah.
And Cody.
Yeah.
I remember the young ones. Or the early
the
ones,
early
not young
ones.
ones.
Yeah,
They weren't
like,
young.
whoa, easy.
But bartenders come and go, but some stick around, and you got a good bunch now. Those Chris and Stefan over at the ferry tap room.
Yeah.
These guys are great.
And it is one of the things we've been very fortunate to have some really great people pass through our doors. And bartending is a job that a lot of people, it's either a second gig or you're kind of in between things. So we don't expect anybody to stay for 12, 15 years. And so, but we have absolutely been very fortunate to have some really great folks.
And I don't tip, so
it's true.
And they still put up with me.
It's 100% true. You are the legend in your own mind for sure.
Right.
Well, I don't know, Jim, not to put you on the spot, I didn't know if you had any question to ask me besides when are onion rings coming about the brewing company.
That's my new mission. I've had a few missions with you, getting things I wanted, and eventually I just browbeat people till till I got what I wanted. But
Yeah.
yeah, onion rings one of these days.
Yeah, onion rings. Well, Jim, really appreciate you coming out here and hanging out with us for a few minutes today and kind of telling about your experience with Mare Island Brewing Company. It's been 10 years. I can't believe that. I mean,
I can't either.
You don't look 10 years older,
No,
that's for sure. And
no.
I think it's the hydraulic sandwich IPA that's been keeping you young.
I'm glad
But
it's a podcast.
yes, I'm looking forward to 10 more years and having you support us. And I got to just say, from Kent and I, we really appreciate your support. It's been fantastic.
Glad to have been part of this and to have you and Kent as my friends.
All right. Thank you very much, Jim.
My
All right,
pleasure.
everybody. Again, this is Jim Reikowsky here in this little bonus episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you over here at the Coal Shed Brewery.